Modern mammals possess many skull features they've inherited from their common ancestor, and thus humans and cats, while distantly related, share a number of features of their skulls. For example, cats have a prominent frontal bone, which includes a sinus, which lightens the skull, which provides a resonance chamber for sound production, and which creates nasal mucus. Unlike humans, however, the frontal bone does not quite contact the jugal or zygomatic bone in the cheek to form a postorbital bar. Posterior to the frontal bone, composing much of the lateral aspect of the cranium, is the pair of parietal bones. The posterior of the cranium is composed of the occipital bone, which includes the foramen magnum, the opening through which the spinal cord passes into the skull and enlarges to become the medulla oblongata, and the occipital condyles, which articulate with the first vertebra and support the skull. Ancestrally, the temporal bone of humans was composed by two separate units, the lateral squamosal portion, a separate bone, and the medial petrosal bone. The squamosal portion included the zygomatic process, helping to form the zygomatic arch for jaw muscles, the external auditory meatus, which is the site of the external ear and the auditory canal leading to the middle ear, and the mastoid process for muscle attachment. Medially, the petrosal bone, which doesn't fully fuse to the squamosal in many cats, houses the middle and inner ears. The sphenoid bone, as in humans, is composed of separate elements, although in cats these may not fully fuse, and include a sinus and the sella turcica, the pocket in which the pituitary gland sits. The sinus and sella turcica are visible in a mid-sagittal section. In cats, the nasal turbinates are more prominent than in humans and are scroll-like in structure. Like in humans, they are formed from both the ethmoid bone of the cranium and the inferior nasal concha of the face. In the face, a pair of jugal bones, the homologs of the human zygomatic bone, form a process which almost contacts the frontal bone to form a postorbital bar, but not quite. Cat incisors are held in a premaxillary bone. In humans, the same premaxillary bone exists in fetal development, but it fuses with the maxillary bone. In cats, the maxillary bone holds the canine premolars and molars, and from the inferior view, it is evident that it, along with the palatine bones, fuse along the midline to form the hard palate, the hard upper roof of the mouth, which separates the oral cavity and nasal cavity. A pair of nasal bones form the bridge of the nose, with the rest of the nose being composed of cartilage and connective tissue. And a pair of lacrimal bones exist in the medial portion of the orbit, although they are limited to the orbit and possess a lacrimal foramen which drains tears. The hyoid bone hangs from ligaments. It is in the position of the larynx and it supports the tongue.